Hello, one and all. Welcome to another episode of Dallas Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com. I am Mac Engel, live from the home office in Fort Worth, Texas. The good-looking gentleman on the other side of the screen is not in Texas. I'm going to hate him here in about 30 seconds after I ask him this question. Clarence Hill is in Oxnard, California, where it's decidedly cooler. Clarence, it's 157 degrees here in Fort Worth, give or take. Kill us with it. What's the weather like in the greater Oxnard, Ventura area?
According to my computer, 71 degrees and sunny. But don't let that fool you. It's hot out here. I'm sweating. The ozone, when the ozone layer is gone, that sun is beaming down on you.
The marine layer is gone.
The marine layer is gone. No, seriously, it on that tennis court.
No.
No, it is hot, man. You understand?
Hot. Yeah,
it is. I was just talking to a Cowboys staffer who's wearing like covering long sleeves because they got burned last year. You can get burned out here in this heat, man.
Terrible.
Come on. I might have to put some sunscreen on.
Yeah, that's awful. I
want to get burned out here.
Going to the emergency room or maybe get some psychiatric care for all this.
Listen, I don't know. I mean, listen, it's hard work. This is hard damn work.
I know.
Out here in this sun, dealing with this heat, watching football.
I don't know how you do it. You're a hero, like a first responder. You know what I mean? I'm telling you what. Yeah, it's not.
Where's my gold star? Where's my gold star?
It gets lost in the mail. I want to thank Window Nation for sponsoring this and every other episode of Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com. Clarence, let's get to it. We finally have football practice to talk about, not football games. Not a game. We're talking about practice.
I want to say this. I'm sitting up here in one of these beautiful new luxury suites the Cowboys have built that they took from the people that built the Phoenix Open or golf tournament, those sky, those platform suites and stuff for the VIP guests. I'm sitting in one of them. I was trying to give you a view of the field, but this is the luxury suite above the Cowboys, but that's the field behind us. This is luxury suites. They got drinks. They got a bar over here. They got the Luna Grill. I mean, it's just it's hot. They got couches. They got 2 or 3. It's awesome.
I haven't been out there in a couple of years, but has that all become high-end corporate entertainment stuff now? They're entertaining advertisers. Corporate sponsors.
Yeah, this is corporate sponsor for sure. This is all about what they can do to entertain the corporate sponsors, keep them spending that money on the Cowboys.
All right. Speaking of spending that money, the Dallas Cowboys spent a lot of money in the last couple of days. We'll get into that in a second. But first things first. Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, Stephen Jones, and if I'm missing anybody, please tell me. I don't think I am. Held their annual State of the Team address to open Cowboys camp a couple days ago. You were there. Asked a couple questions. Asked a whole bunch of questions to Jerry and everybody else. Clarence, the one thing that came up, and it's always coming up, but this always feels a little bit different given the age of Jerry Jones. He's not exactly a spring chicken anymore. Of course, neither am I. But what do you feel like? We always ask this question. And Jerry, even when Quincy Carter and Clint Sterner and all these other guys were his quarterback, he always talked about Super Bowl and all this other stuff. But Clarence, do you feel that this team's sense of urgency is any different today because of the age of Jerry Jones as opposed to years past, or is it all the same?
I don't think it's any different because of the age of Jerry. I mean, he's always wanted to win after Jimmy, to prove that he could do it his way. I mean, I remember when they finally won in 1995, even though it was still Jimmy's players, we did it, baby. We did it our way. And since Jimmy's players love, they haven't done it. They haven't done it his way. They haven't done it anyway. They got 5 playoff wins since their last Super Bowl title. And so there's this the pride thing of wanting to get it done. And it's always been there. Certainly, as he has said so many times over the past few years, I don't have time to have a bad time because he is getting up there in age, and so he wants to win, while he's still living. But I don't think it's any more because of his age. I mean, it's just been so long. It's like a giant albatross hanging around the neck of this franchise. Every player that comes in, I mean, that's why we can't see straight when we talk about Dak and everybody else, because of this albatross that's on everybody's head. Same thing with Mike McCarthy. I mean, Mike McCarthy has won more games the past 2 years than any coach in the NFL except Andy Reid. He's back-to-back 12-win season for the first time since the 1990s, but nobody has any confidence in Mike McCarthy. There's a good chance, he has to get to the NFC Championship game and really take a step further to keep his job because of the playoff losses, because of the enormous 28-year gap, not 28-year gap since the last Super Bowl title.
I've talked about this here on Cowboys Overtime. I've talked about it with some other people locally. I think I've even written about it. You're getting older when you can't remember anything that you used to write anymore.
How about names?
There's no difference, Clarence, between Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy. If you take the names away and the names of the teams away, they're the same guy. And yet Sean Payton, who went off, by the way.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. I can't believe he did it. If you haven't had a chance, Google Sean Payton and Jarrett Bell, our longtime friend who started out covering the Cowboys many moons ago, is now an excellent reporter covering the NFL for USA Today. And Jarrett Bell got Sean Payton to erupt on the state of the Denver Broncos. And my point about Sean's a terrific coach, is there's virtually no different record and accomplishment-wise between Sean and Mike. But for some reason, Mike doesn't get regarded with the same esteem as Sean does. And I think, Clarence, I don't think even let's just play this out. Let's say the Cowboys have another season like they did the last two, where they win 10, 11, 12 games, someplace in there. And there's no reason to think that they won't. But let's say they do, and then they get to that divisional round again, and they lose 3, 4, 5. They could lose to San Francisco again. I mean, it's very possible that
depends on who you get.
Yep, it all depends on me. But it's all those things are very plausible. I don't know how they could. Clarence, how could they possibly fire unless they go 2-15? How are they going to fire Mike?
Yeah. I'm talking about you get to the playoffs, you win 10, 11 games, and you lose in the first round again. It's on the table. It's on the table for there's no question it's on the table. There's no question it's on the table.
But I mean, who's any like? Who do you get? Like they hired a really solid professional coach. Mike's
who do you get?
Who do you get?
You get the defense coordinators on staff.
Is that what you do?
I mean, come on. There's no question that's the leader in the clubhouse. If they get rid of Mike, I'm going to be the defense coordinator. It's Dan Quinn the next coach.
One thing that has happened early on in camp that we don't normally see a lot of anymore in NFL training camps, especially of a player of this variety and caliber, is a contract holdout. Dallas Cowboys veteran guard Zack Martin, that we talked about last week, is not at camp. Now, he doesn't need to be at camp. And the truth of the matter is, even if he was at camp, he wouldn't be doing that much anyways, because a veteran of that caliber and that production level is completely trusted to take care of himself, and he wouldn't be doing that much. And he does accrue a $50,000 a day fine by not being at camp and a holdout because he wants to be justifiably one of the highest paid players at his position, which he no longer is. He was several years ago when he signed an extension, but now other players at his position have received raises above his. He wants to be in that category, which he should. Clarence, the owner and the head coach talked about this. Give us a bit of an update, if there is one, on Zack Martin.
Well, two things. I would say that I'm generally on the side of players, and I'm really on the side of Zack Martin. But the Cowboys did make him whole. They made him the highest paid guard in the league. I think it's his fault that he signed a long-term deal. You sign for 6 years, the market's going to change, and you do like that, you get a shorter deal so you can get back out and get another piece of the apple, bite of the apple, so to speak. But you sign for 6 years, and so the market changes. Now you're mad about your money. Now, should he be the 7th or 8th highest paid offensive guard in his position? No. But, I mean, the Cowboys did make him whole at one point. And so that's kind of Jerry's point of view, is that he's not worried about it, but he's really taking a hardline stance right now that he signed the contract and needs to honor the contract. And Mike McCarthy is not talking about it because he's old school. You don't talk about another man's money. Daddy told him a long time ago, you don't talk about another man's money, you don't talk about your money. It was one of a great quote, favorable quote that he made in camp on Wednesday.
Clarence, real quick, I've talked. My dad made similar sentiments, and so did my mom. Do you agree with that sentiment?
No, I mean I think it's old school thinking, but it's also one reason why they're we're in a day and age where you need full disclosure because it helps keep other people's money down. When you don't talk about your money, you're not upfront about the money. Everybody talks about the money is like you need to know what the market is because that's how companies keep people underpaid.
Absolutely.
We wouldn't know anything about these pay gaps. If people just kept their salaries quiet. It's almost like in college when you're not supposed to talk about your grades. Don't tell about what it's like that's an old school way of thinking. I
I agree.
understand it, but it's it's better for everybody that people understand what other people are making. It's the same. It's the main reason Zach's holding out because he knows what everybody else is making. If we didn't know what everybody else is making, he could just be in the dark and be getting played. Like everybody else, like these running backs are getting played right now because we know what other team people are making, and it's so fun. I know we're not talking about that, but just like the Giants, they make poor Saquon take basically this glorified franchise tag deal. Then in the same breath, they get an offensive tackle, more money than God allows. Like I thought y'all didn't have no money, but it's not. We just don't have no money for you. We got money. We just don't have no money for you. But
I can't disagree with anything you said. This goes back to the mid '70s when Major League Baseball, led by a very influential man, maybe one of the most influential men, not in the history of baseball, but sports, professional sports, Marvin Miller, a labor union, a labor contract lawyer, made a point of what you're just saying, which is tell everybody what you're making, put it all out there, and that way owners know this guy's getting this, and the players know, well, that guy's getting this, and all it does is go up. And the owner's point, which and I've said it here, I've written 1,000 times, fans should always be on the side of the players, always, because the owners don't care. And I understand Jerry's point, but you can't say that with that collective bargaining agreement that the players stupidly agreed to, that allows the league and the owners to flush contracts so easily and to completely devalue the idea, well, you signed a contract, and to make it so one-sided. I think there's a little bit of hypocrisy going on there. And I understand where both people are coming from, but you and I both know, better than I do because you cover the team longer, Jerry's going to pay him.
Well, we hope so. We hope, and we hope so. And my thing, just before we move on, is like, they didn't honor Zeke's contract. They didn't honor DeMarcus Ware's contract. Nope. They didn't honor Tony Romo's. I mean, you can go down the list of when you don't live up to your money, they cut you, even though you have years left on your contract, and move on because of the money. So, by the same token, if I surpass my contract, let's do the same thing. Let's call it both ways. That's totally what kills me about fans. They side with teams, and this whole why is there a cap in the first place? These people they're making billions of dollars. Billions of dollars.
I don't
billions of dollars every year. Every franchise makes billions, but yet we're capping salaries. But the owner's making billions of dollars.
I don't, in terms of, because when I was covering the National Hockey League, I saw what a lack of a cap had done in about to 10 markets. So that was about a third of the league, and I saw it, and I can see clearly the benefit of a cap and how it does give a better opportunity to sell that team, that league, to fan bases in different markets other than just the real big ones.
Has it affected soccer? They're offering guys $750 million for one season.
No, but they're doing end arounds on that. So Messi would sign with Miami. But if you look at Major League Baseball, Major League Baseball doesn't really have a cap. It has a punitive tax. And maybe that's what they should have done, but you're not going to put the animals back in the barn on this. The players agreed to a cap. Gene Upshaw, God rest his soul, agreed to some provisions in that labor union contract that I think in hindsight were really not in the best interest of the players, and I think they're left to deal with it. I think there are also some provisions in there that players need to be more aware of and more active about in participating with that union and their player representative to make sure that they don't get what's going on with running backs now. That's ridiculous. Like you talk about what Saquon accepted, it's absurd that it's so one-sided. But we could talk about this all day. All right, we've got more to talk about. Dallas Cowboys training camp in Oxnard. I'm here in Fort Worth. But first, a word from Window Nation.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill the house this season with savings. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and make no payments and pay no interest until 2025. Fill your house for a customized authentic Dallas Cowboys jersey while supplies last. You could even help fill the Cowboys house and win tickets to a game. Visit windownation.com/Cowboys now for details. Call 866-95-NATION. Window Nation, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Thank you very much, Window Nation. Back here on StarTelegram.com for Cowboys Overtime. I'm Mac Engel. He's Clarence Hill. He's in a suite at Oxnard Cowboys training camp for all of your coverage needs. Clarence is out there. We'll be out there the entire time, living in the hell that is 71 degrees. But hey, it's sunny. So
it's 72 now. It's 70. It rode. The temperature rose to 70.
It is.
It's 72. It's 72 degrees out here now.
Okay? All right. It's kind of. It's basically you're in Death Valley. Death Valley. Yeah, it's basically Death Valley. Okay, Clarence. The Cowboys have a string of players who are due potential contract extensions. Of note, Stephen Jones said that they did offer a contract extension to Tony Pollard. I don't know if I believe that or not, but that's what he said. The one player who did get an extension is cornerback Trevon Diggs. Now, there are a few players who inspired the wrath of Cowboy idiot fans like Trevon Diggs. Tell me, Clarence, why this is a good move for the Cowboys.
Well, it's a good move because he's a cornerstone player. It's a good move because I think that although he got paid and, you know, it's a $97 million contract, he didn't break the bank per se. He didn't get the most money, you know, so it was a good move for the Cowboys and Diggs. And it's a good move because he's a guy they want to get done and they have a list they need to check off. You know, you got Diggs, you got CD, you got Terrence Steele, you got Tyler Biadasz all coming up. Steele and Biadasz and Diggs were all in the last year of their contract, so they want to be able to get them done. CD has 1 more year, although they want to get him done. You got Dak Prescott, who you want to get done, and then you got coming down the pike that big train coming down the track.
Number 11,
Michael Parsons. You know you got to get done, but so. Getting some contracts done, understanding what your budget is and where your structure is helps you manage those other guys. And so, that, you know, they want to start chipping away and getting some of these guys done, and Diggs was the first one. And so you look for them, you know, they will try to get, you know, the good news is that I'm you know, there was not a lot of talk. They just came out and boom, done. You know, that's how they want to do it with all of them. There's no back and forth in the media, no big deal. They want to get it done. And, you know, obviously I think CD and Dak are guys they want to get done sooner rather than later. And again, you got Terrence Steele and Tyler Biadasz.
Clarence, of all the guys that you mentioned, and they signed Leighton Vander Esch to a 2-year deal. DeMarcus Lawrence is still around. He certainly had a terrific year last season. Is there any guy that you mentioned who is due for an extension that you think they'll probably not offer an extension? Tony Pollard's off the grid. That we're not going to talk about Tony Pollard because of his position. But is there any of those guys who you would say or would be due a long-term deal, but you don't think it's going to work out and he eventually will be someplace else?
No, I don't think any of the guys that I mentioned are going to be someplace else because I don't know. You know, you look at Terrence Steele and Tyler Biadasz. I don't think they're going to get market-setting deals. They're just going to get contracts. You know, based on where they came from. You know how they got to the Cowboys. It's kind of even like Tony Pollard, and we talked to Tony Pollard yesterday. Yeah, he's a running back. Yeah, you know he wish he could have got a long-term deal. But the guy made $600,000 last year. He's a former 4th-round pick. You know, $10 million, that's a huge payday. You know, he hit the lottery.
He did.
You know, that's I mean, it's not like he was a 1st-round pick like Zeke and Barkley and those guys. You know, this was not supposed to be his life based on his draft position.
No, so 4th-round guy, no way.
Yeah, getting that $10 million is a huge jump. And if he gets another one next year, if they do that, he plays well and they give him a multi-year deal, God bless it. But you know, he's happy. So the same thing with Terrence Steele and Tyler Biadasz. I don't think they're looking to break the bank. They're just trying to be comfortable based on where they came from, you know, and be made whole. You know, the CD, you know, that's going to be a deal, you know, because he's at the top of his game. He's going to be paid among the top receivers in the game. You know, that's between 25 and 30 million a season, you know, and Dak, they have to address Dak Prescott because I think his cap number next year is $59 million. And so you redo the deal, you give him an extension to lower that cap figure. So again, so you can sign other people. You know, they need to get that done.
Who will get done first, CD or Dak?
I don't know. I mean, I would think that it's urgent that they get something done with that, and I think that could happen during the season, But what if he goes and throws 10 interceptions the first couple of games?
He's already thrown an interception in training camp. So
first practice,
practice,
another damn tipped interception.
I know. So I did want to mention this. I doubt you saw this. So this week, one of the things about Tony Pollard's a really interesting story because this guy was a 4th-round pick who wasn't a starter at Memphis.
No.
So this week at American Athletic Conference Media Days in Arlington, one of his assistant coaches pardon?
No,
oh, okay. So yes, I went there because your good friend Tom Herman was there. My good friend.
That's my
Tom
guy.
Herman was there. That's my guy. So the Memphis coach, Ron Silverfield, was there. And Ron was an offensive assistant when Tony Pollard was at Memphis. And the one detail about this that I didn't know, and I wouldn't have thought to know, is that one of the reasons Pollard was never a starter, there were 5 guys who are NFL running backs who are his teammates at one point or another.
Yeah.
And so when I was looking at his game log, there were 2 times in his career at Memphis he carried the ball 10 or more times. He ran for 100 yards once. That was his last college game, a bowl game against Wake Forest. Everything else was as a receiver. And Clarence, the one thing Coach Silverfield mentioned that I think has some merit, why he thinks that Tony might last a little bit longer than maybe, most of us would project, is that he's such a good pass catcher. He was really high on him. And it's not all college coaches are high on their ex-guys who are in the NFL, but his logic was pretty good. So for him to do, like you said, to go from $600,000 to $10 million and to do what he's done, I think says obviously a lot of great things about Tony Pollard. But I think there's a good reason why so many people missed on this kid was there were so many other good players at his same position when he was in college. Clarence, there's some other questions I want to go over with you before we get out of this episode of Cowboys Overtime. The big one is, as we sort of kick around Cowboys questions, what is the status of state safety Jaron Curse? I know anybody who follows the team on social media, you wrote about it. He left first practice with an apparent injury, had to be carted off in x-rays. What's his status?
He has a calf strain, and he's basically sidelined for the rest of the training camp. Good news. It's bad news. You get somebody hurt, the first day of camp. The good news, they got hurt the first day of camp. Is not that serious. He should be ready for the start of the season. He just signed a 3-year, $21 million contract in March. Great kid out of A&M. Again, another 5th to 6th round pick who made it big and is a big part of the big nickel defense, their base defense with 3 safeties. So it's a setback, but, they're going to be cautious with him. He should be ready for the opener against the Giants.
Any position we talked about, sometimes you have training camp warriors, guys who look great in camp, guys who look great in a preseason game in the second half against other teams' backups. Is there anybody? So it's kind of hard sometimes to sort of figure out those guys from the guys who can really play. Have you been? I mean, I know it's ridiculous, but when you look at
his first day, but Jalen Monroe Cropper. I'm just going to Jalen Monroe Cropper, undrafted free agent from Fresno State, has been killing the Cowboys in OTAs and offseason. He had a touchdown the first day of training camp. He runs a 4.4 speed. He's a guy. Just keep that name in the back of your mind right there. Jalen Monroe Cropper is a guy who should flash. He's that guy.
Last topic I'm going to bring up. We're going to go off topic here for a second, and I'm going to bring it up with you because you're a fight fan. I like boxing. There is a monster boxing match on Saturday night in Las Vegas, probably the biggest boxing match the sport has seen in about 7 or 8 years.
And Mac's gone. I think Mac's gone.
Sorry about that. Just a bit of a hiccup, technical hiccup. So there was a huge boxing match on Saturday night, the biggest one in the sports scene in about 7 or 8 years. We got a local guy in it. Local guy you and I both know a little bit.
Mac's freezing up again. I think he's trying to talk about the Spence Crawford fight, and where Spence is from DeSoto.
Am I back?
Yeah,
Am I back?
I think I see your hair.
I just had it cut and colored with gray stuff. Am I back? Can you see and hear me?
You're back.
Okay. Clarence, a lot of Cowboys players are going to go to that fight in Vegas. You and I were talking about it. I'm really excited about it. I'm a big Errol Spence guy. I know you're a big Errol Spence guy. Bud Crawford's a beast. He's not a flashy guy, but he's a beast. I'm really excited about it. I know fight fans are excited about it because they think this could be an actual fight where fighters fight. I'm biased. I know you're biased. It's going to be a hell of a fight. Who's going to win?
Well, Candy, our trusted producer in the office, says her money's on Spence. How much she putting on Spence? How much you putting on Spence? I'm down with Spence. I mean, I've been down with Spence ever since he came on the scene. He has it inside. He's a champion. He wasn't given any of this. And he's just such a warrior. He has that character. He's a true warrior. I mean, and he, just his style of fighting. I just think he's going to be too big and inside, too powerful for Crawford. But it's going to be a great fight. It's something everybody's going to be interested in. I think some of the Cowboy players may be taking a charter. Dak may be chartering a private plane to go to the fight because Sunday's a day off. So Saturday night after practice, they may fly to Vegas and fly back. You can do that when you make that kind of money. I can't do that. It's like a 7-hour drive from here.
Is it that long?
Well, I think it's 5 hours from LA, but we're in Oxnard.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that long. Otherwise, it was that long. I don't know if I would go. But
yeah, 5 hours. 5 hours, I would do it. But 7 hours, I'm just by yourself. It's just that's a tough drive. But so it has the interest of the world, and anybody's going to be at that fight. And again, we're rooting for Spence.
We are rooting for Spence. I'm out of the closet on that one. I'm an Errol Spence fan. I'm a little worried for him because the way he fights, he makes himself vulnerable occasionally. Bud Crawford's no joke. But the one great thing about this fight is that these are fighters. They're boxers and they're fighters. There is a little bit of a difference there.
Yes.
Like Floyd Mayweather was a brilliant boxer.
Yeah.
He was amazing because he made every opponent look exactly the same. That was his brilliance. And he never got touched.
Right.
Bud Crawford and Errol Spence are going to get touched. So that'll make this a fun fight. All right, Clarence.
They're going to touch each other. How about
absolutely. That? I mean, there's going to be somebody's going to get bloody on this. All right, that's Saturday night. Spence and Crawford should be a wonderful fight. Cowboys will be out in training camp for the next 10 months. And Clarence is going to be out there burning under a 74-degree sun. Make sure
it's hot, man. It's hot. Send sunscreen.
Yeah, you're a real hero.
I need a bucket hat too. I need a bucket hat. Send the sun.
What else? You need sunscreen. You need a bucket hat. You need long sleeves. It's hot. Clarence, God be with you. It might get up to 70.
The water is cold. So if you ever go swimming in the water out here, you gotta wear a wetsuit. You just can't go on your little tight little.
Have you ever? This is a question. You've been going out to California for 100 years.
Yeah.
Now, I have gone for a swim in that ocean a lot.
It's cold.
It is not, you coward.
It is cold. Everything draws up.
No, it's not. Like cold.
Cold.
You want to get in cold water. When the Cowboys go play the Seahawks sometime, go in that part of the ocean.
Yeah,
that's
cold.
Southern California is not that bad. It's refreshing.
No, we're not. So I understand it. So if you go Malibu, Manhattan Beach, you go down there, Venice. Yes, that water is not cold. The water up here in Oxnard, water's cold.
Stop it! It's a difference of like 60 miles, and you're acting like
it's a difference in degrees too. It is. You go to LA, it's 100 degrees. You're in Oxnard, it's 72. I'm just telling you. Go to Bakersfield. Act like Bakersfield is the same as Oxnard.
No, that's not the same as Oxnard. All right, we can do a little bit of thing about that. Okay, Clarence, it's been a lot of fun. For all you Cowboys coverage needs, be sure to follow Clarence on social media and StarTelegram.com. He's going to be with Cowboys the whole way. I will not, at least until I get back from California. For Clarence, I'm Mac. Next week, StarTelegram.com. Window Nation, thank you very much. See you next week.